Man, this feels terrible to talk about, but it is Pride Month, and we've already had our first casualty? That's not a word I should be saying here. Those aren't words I should be saying. Also, why is my voice breaking so much? Anyway, so for those who do not know, for those who might not be aware, the voice actor behind Jonathan Redcorn, John Redcorn. So Jonathan Joss, the voice actor of John Redcorn, was killed earlier. And we're going to be going over some of the information surrounding that. It's going to be a bit of a downer video. I am really sorry about that, guys. I don't have words of encouragement on this one. But this is a show that my grandpa and I used to watch together. And while I have not seen as many episodes of it as I have of, say, Family Guy or other shows that were around at the time, it is a show that means something to me because it was one of the last things I did together with my grandpa before he passed. So...
Upon my death, I would like to pass the land on to you, Dale, for all the help you've given me.
Score! Actor Jonathan Joss, best known as the voice of John Redcorn on King of the Hill, shot and killed by a neighbor in Texas. He was 59 years old. According to reports, Joss was gunned down outside of his home in San Antonio on Sunday, where authorities found him lying near the roadway. First responders attempted life-saving measures, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect fled, but was arrested just a block away. The investigation is ongoing, but in a new statement, Joss's husband Tristan, whom he married on Valentine's Day, seems to characterize the shooting as a hate crime. He says they were both threatened by people in the area for years, and the suspect yelled violent, homophobic slurs at them before the murder. Tristan claims Jonathan saved his life by pushing him out of the way, and explains, quote, "My focus now is protecting his legacy and honoring the life we built together."
Hank, Nancy has a therapeutic massage today for her migraines.
Joss voiced John Redcorn on King of the Hill.
Okay, so that is at least some of the information. That is not everything. I hate to tell you, but as bad as that is, technically it is far, far, far worse than what was described here. But we'll finish the video and then we'll get into some of the other stuff, and you'll see what I mean.
For more than 10 seasons, and according to Variety, he already recorded lines for the show's revival, coming to Hulu in August. The star also had a recurring role opposite Amy Poehler on Parks and Recreation.
What about, and I'm just spitballing here, a large neon advertisement for the Wamapo Casino? We have a new slogan that I'm quite proud of. Our slots are downright filthy.
I think it's a slam dunk idea. I think we're done here.
He also made appearances in the Oscar-nominated film True Grit, The Magnificent Seven, and Tulsa King with Sly Stallone.
How you doing? I'm Dwight.
This is Jimmy's cousin, Badface.
This is a staring contest? You got a problem?
I got serious problems. You ever been on a horse?
You ever been on life support?
Okay, so while that played as more of a celebration of his career, on this channel, we need to go ahead and call this what it is. Like, obviously, it's a hate crime. Person shouts homophobic slurs while attacking him. That's going to end up causing issues. This is one of the reasons why, when creators get doxxed, it's such a risky thing, because somebody's just going to try to do that. They always will. You get big enough, and you're public enough, and then this is an inevitability. But, okay, so we have a news article I'm going to go over about this, but I know that it is going to be missing some pertinent information because almost every news article has been missing pertinent information about this, and I don't have a Ground News sponsorship, so I can't talk about this in a funny haha way. I just kind of have to do this. So here is a statement from, it says from Jonathan Joss, but this is from Jonathan Joss's husband. Said, my husband, Jonathan Joss, and I were involved in a shooting while checking the mail at the site of our former home. That home was burned down after 2 years of threats from people in the area who repeatedly told us that they would set it on fire. We reported these threats to law enforcement multiple times, and nothing was done. But don't worry, everybody. The police are your friends, and they just want what's best for you. Anyway, throughout the time, we were harassed regularly by individuals who made it clear they did not accept our relationship. Much of the harassment was openly homophobic. When we returned to the site to check our mail, we discovered the skull of one of our dogs and its harness placed in clear view. So, not only did they burn down the house, they killed their dog, made sure that its remains would be there for them to see plainly, and here's why. This caused both of us severe emotional distress. We began yelling and crying in response to the pain of what we saw. While we were doing this, a man approached us. He started yelling violent homophobic slurs. Then he raised a gun from his lap and fired. Jonathan and I had no weapons. We were not threatening anyone. We were grieving. We were standing side by side. When the man fired, Jonathan pushed me out of the way and he saved my life. Now, I find it really weird. I find it incredibly weird that information like this is omitted from several news reports. Because yes, it should be enough in a sane society for you to just have the information that a man was doing homophobic slurs and shot. In a sane society, that is enough information for you to get the gist of what is going on. But for you to understand how far America as a nation has sunk and how enabled people have felt to enact heinous crimes like this, you need to give all of that information. Yes, it's gross. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's awful. It is. All of those things and more. But you have to consider that by omitting information like that, you treat this as if it was a random lone person, as opposed to somebody or some people who planned this out over a long period of time and made certain that when they were at their most opportune point, they executed their plan and then executed their victim. It is very, very strange to me that news outlets would focus mostly on the man's career, as opposed to the more grisly details around the death. Because while his career should be celebrated, and that is the information that most people are going to gravitate to because of the King of the Hill revival and all of that fun stuff, at the same time, by omitting this pertinent information, you paint a much different scene to your viewers than what actually is happening. And Cinder, I know I started recording technically 9 minutes after you posted that. I am not redeeming that right now. That's not happening. So, Tristan then goes on to say that Jonathan is my husband. He gave me more love in our time together than most people ever get. We were newlyweds. We picked Valentine's Day. We were in the process of looking for a trailer and planning our future. He was murdered by someone who could not stand the sight of two men loving each other. I was with him when he passed. I told him how much he was loved. To everyone who supported him, his fans, his friends know that he valued you deeply. He saw you as family. My focus is now on protecting his legacy and honoring the life we built together. If your concern is how someone coped with trauma or how loudly they speak when recounting injustice and being ignored by authorities, then you never truly cared about my husband. Jonathan saved my life, and I will carry that forward. I will protect what he built. So, my take on this is that as an individual, you can do what you need to do. Whatever you need to do that helps you cope, whatever you need to do that helps you grieve, that is what you should do. That is none of my business. My business is the business of looking at other news articles that have chosen to omit information that is pertinent to here. So I haven't read the news article from MSNBC. I want to go ahead and see what it looks like. Jonathan Joss, the voice actor best known as John Redcorn from King of the Hill, was killed in a San Antonio shooting. A suspect, 56-year-old Sigfredo Alvarez Caja, was taken into custody and booked on a murder charge. Officers were dispatched to Dorsey around 7 p.m. Sunday for a shooting and arrived to find the actor, whose legal name is Jonathan Joss Gonzalez, near the roadway after he was shot. Authorities attempted life-saving measures until EMS arrived and pronounced him dead. Police have not released any other information on the shooting. Despite online claims of this being... Okay. Let's see if this is still here. SAPD Homicide is currently investigating the murder of Jonathan Joss. Despite online claims of this being a hate crime, currently the investigation has found no evidence to indicate that Mr. Joss's murder was related to his sexual orientation. How? How? Is it perhaps because if you were to call it a hate crime, it would call into question all of the information surrounding this particular crime? Is that what's going on? Is that the issue at hand here? If you call it a hate crime now, suddenly you have to talk about the 2 years of threats these two were dealing with up until this point. Is that why? Be ashamed of yourselves, you fucking losers. Blatant fucking lying is disgusting. They constantly warned you guys. They lost a house, their dogs, and now a human being was murdered. Use your eyes, people. Joss and his partner reported the threats of people saying they'd burn down their house, and nothing was done. And then their house was burned down. Y'all obviously don't give a shit. They don't. They do not. So we're just going to go ahead and say that the San Antonio Police Department, from the top to bottom, is made up of scumbags. Because if it is not made up of scumbags, then at least one person would have held the person who wrote this shit accountable, and it would have been taken down hours ago. But that's not the case here. SAPD investigators handle these allegations very seriously. Ah, yes, I can see how seriously y'all handle them. I can see how seriously y'all handle them. Josh's husband, Tristan Karen de Gonzalez, alleged in a social media post that Josh was killed in a homophobic attack at the site of their old home. While living there, Karen de Gonzalez said the couple was harassed regularly by individuals who made it clear they did not accept our relationship, adding that much of the harassment was openly homophobic. He said the couple was at the house checking the mail. Okay, cool. So they actually do note the information. They actually do note the information there. Good on MSNBC for that. Good on MSNBC for that. So apparently, the thing that I was going off of was the claim that local news made it sound like it was an argument. There was no argument. And the fact that the media that I've looked at of it, the non-written media the stuff that people are likely to see more often because people read the news less and less, but they watch the news in the background more and more, that media omits that information. Lemore Pinku, I am definitely not doing that. I am 100% not doing that while I talk about the murder of a beloved voice actor. That's not cute. That's not funny. Read the room. A man approached them yelling slurs at them. Kern de Gonzalez said, the man then fired at the couple. Jonathan and I had no weapons. We were not threatening anybody, so that's the same stuff that we read in the post itself. And then there's the recap of Joss also played the character in Parks and Rec. Okay, so all that stuff is still there. All that stuff is still there. In his statement, Joss's husband alleged that he previously reported threats that neighbors had made about destroying the home. Joss told local reporters then that he say Joss's family and home in San Antonio was destroyed in a fire in January. An online fundraiser stated 3 of his dogs had been killed in the fire and raised more than $10,000. Joss told local reporters that he did not have a job. Well, when you're married to an actor, like, you do technically have the ability to not work and to just be a homemaker. Like, you had the opportunity to live the American dream. You had the opportunity to live the American dream. You were with a famous actor. You had a house. Like, you had basically everything, and now it's been ripped away. Like, that's... I don't have words for that. I don't have words for that other than it's disgusting. It's gross. It's insane. And again, I'm gonna hold to the same standard that omitting the information about this being a hate crime and omitting the information about the amount of time that was spent not answering the calls about a hate crime that was brewing, I think that's the reason why the San Antonio Police Department is trying to say and sweep under the rug and say that it's not a hate crime. But unfortunately for them, this is a high-profile actor. This is an actor from a show that everybody knows that also has a revival happening. The timing of this could not be more unfortunate for a police department that wants to sweep a hate crime under the rug. And the fact that this still happens in 2025 astounds me. You'd think that more people would understand when they wake up in the morning that the other people around them are people too and deserve respect. But that's not the case anymore. Not for some folks. And it's not been the case for a while. Remember, under Trump's presidencies, we have had an increase in hate crime. In fact, let's see here. Let's see here. We're just going to pull up a random paper. Haven't even read it yet. Let's go and see here. This essay empirically evaluates the relationship between Donald Trump's rise to power and the recent increase in reported hate crimes. A number of critics predicted President Trump's divisive rhetoric during the presidential campaign and his subsequent election would embolden hate crime perpetrators, thereby contributing to more hate crimes. Media commentators have dubbed this the Trump effect. Interesting. We hypothesize that it's not just Trump's inflammatory rhetoric through the political campaign that caused the hate crimes to increase. Rather, we argue it was Trump's subsequent election as president of the United States that validated the rhetoric in the eyes of perpetrators and fueled the hate crime surge. So this is from 2018. This is from his first presidency. Trump being in office, not just the words he says, but him being in power, emboldens right-wing extremists, and it has for years. We get actual studies on this shit. It's insane to me. It is insane to me that we live in a world where research like this exists, and yet people still claim that Donald Trump doesn't actually have anything to do with any of this. Because there are people that believe that you need to directly incite violence in order to make violence happen. You don't. You just have to foster an environment. You just have to foster an environment where people feel emboldened in doing cruel shit. That's all you have to do. Otaka Senpai says, honestly, I don't know if the dogs had killed by neighbors or if they died under different circumstances. They died in the fire that the neighbors allegedly caused. And then the skulls were put out on display. That is nothing if not fucking deliberate from point 1 to point 3. Audistics, Trump doesn't hate the poorly educated. He loves the poorly educated. His exact words were he loves the poorly educated. Which is just as bad. Like, Donald Trump definitely loves the poorly educated because the poorly educated got him elected. Iopokai says, give it, what, 2 more years? This will have become the norm. This is fucking horrendous. I don't think this will become the norm. The reason I don't think this will become the norm is even when the KKK was rising to power, that was not considered the norm. It was more blatant, it was more problematic, but it was not considered the norm. I don't think in 2 years it will become the norm for shit like this to happen more often. Significantly more often. It already is happening more often. Let me rephrase. I don't think it is likely that shit like this is going to become radically more normalized to the point where it becomes the norm for everybody. As long as we do not shut the fuck up. If we stop talking about stuff like this, then yes, it is liable to happen more often. But if we continue to fight against this, if we continue to make sure that our gay friends and our trans friends and everybody in between are able to exist out and openly and comfortably around us, it will have the opposite effect. But we have to be willing to foster the opposite environment. We have to be willing to look at the world of despair that the right wing is trying to create. And we have to be willing to smile in the face of that. They want to create a world. Trump, his goons, the people who voted him in, many of them want to create a world where gay and trans people have to go back to the closet because they don't want to have to see them. They don't want to have to see gay people in love. They don't want to have to see trans people out and about. Though they've seen trans people out and about, they've gotten rock hard by looking at trans people out and about without knowing they're trans. That tends to happen. What they want, more than anything, is a world where only people who act, speak, and look like them are accepted. And anything outside of that norm is considered weird by everybody else because they consider it weird. And the easiest way to make that happen is by denormalizing these things. And one of the ways you can denormalize these things is make everybody who is trans, is gay, is anywhere in between, make them scared. Now, obviously, on a meta level, the idea for the right is to promote the nuclear family. But they actively encourage, in various ways, attacks on non-nuclear family models. And two gay men together is a non-nuclear family model. A polyamorous throuple is a non-nuclear family model. While they may not call for this type of stuff out at the Heritage Foundation, they most certainly don't get upset when it happens. They just get upset when it happens, and people rightfully point to them as one of the root causes. They have a model of the world that they want to see perpetuated, and the easiest way to perpetuate that model is by delegitimizing any other potential model, regardless of how functional they may be. Don't let them create that world. Don't let them win that world. Live. Be happy. Go out and play video games with your friends. Touch grass and go have a fucking boffer sparring fight in a town park. Go to conventions and be loud and proud about yourself, and then carry that energy into the subsequent weeks. Go outside and be yourself and be proud about it. Get weird, get cringe, be free. That is the kind of stuff that actively fights against this environment that is trying to be perpetuated. And I know there are going to be people who worry, saying that, oh, if I'm out and proud about who I am and what I am, then the likelihood is I'll die. Somebody's going to attack me. If you stay in the closet, the likelihood is you're going to die because you'll become a statistic. And we know what the suicide statistics look like for trans people, for instance. Those without social support and those who stay in the closet. Your only option is joy. Every other road leads to a kind of death. The best option you have is to go out, be proud, be yourself, be happy, and find ways to do things that bring you joy. Find a community around you that is willing to be around you. Because hoveling up inside and doing everything in your power not to think about the reality out there, the reality out there is going to exist no matter what you do. At some point, you're going to have to face it, and it's better to face it with a smile than it is to face it cowering in fear. That's all I got on this one. Rest in peace. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full-time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Leela Ururaka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press, though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.